Hello, you lovely people. Welcome back to the Give and Grow Show. Eric and Ryan coming at you today. Ryan, it is a beautiful day in Memphis. I think it's finally going to break the 80 degrees mark. I can't wait. I've already been to the gym this morning. I had my coffee. I'm feeling good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I got my 5 miles in today like normal. I'm on this challenge where I'm doing 5 miles a day.
Dude, that's awesome.
For the month of April, and it's doing pretty good. Yeah. I'm enjoying the process.
I love processes, as y'all know.
Yeah.
Well, today we got a new topic, man. Retirement. It's things we often don't think about when we're younger, but towards middle age and later age, it seems like everyone looks back and it's like, oh man, why wasn't I thinking about that? And that's what we wanted to kind of open up the conversation about today and just speak on that.
You said you should be thinking about this during like the middle age, and I feel like your 30s to me is now, you know, at least to me, your 30s is now the middle age.
Okay.
Like the 40s and 50s, it's so much harder to think about retirement when you get to those ages, because hopefully by that time you're ready to retire. But what we plan to do here is to provide not only some stats on retirement, but also our general thoughts on it and some lessons that we can give you. One of them being, you know, changing how you view it. To me, you know, you should be thinking about this as early as you can. Specifically, you know, in your teens, your 20s.
And let me preface by saying this, like we mentioned in the last video, we don't have mortgages. We're both married, but we don't have kids right now. And to quote the money guys, you know, kind of in your 30s, that's kind of the messy middle. So that plays a huge role on how much you can invest into retirement. So that's not lost on us. We don't want you to think that we're over here sharing all this information and making it seem so easy, because we're not technically in the same messy middle that most Americans are in their 30s. So just know that's not lost on us, but we still want to have a healthy conversation around retirement with that understanding.
Yeah, that's really good. I think that a lot of people try to have like the same idea around it, where it's like most people fall into some level of like life situations, but it's different for everybody. I will say though that when it comes to planning for your future, everybody should be doing it regardless of whatever situation that you're in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's hear it, man.
I wanted to bring up some of these stats for retirement. A lot of these are coming from like different websites. The first one that I wanted to bring up is that it says here that the current U.S. life expectancy is 79.1 years.
Okay.
Which is up from 68.1 in 1950. This means that Americans are living longer and must save more for retirement. The fact that the life expectancy is starting to get longer means that you're going to need more. Every dollar is going to matter. Yeah. All the way up until you know you're ready to retire.
You're going to need that army.
Yeah, you need the army for sure.
And I mean, the thing about, you know, life expectancy 79, I mean, typical Americans, they're living longer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're healthy. Yeah. And so you got to consider your insurance. Some people have to consider long-term care, nursing homes, assisted living. Some people it's independent living, because yes, capitalism is a beautiful thing, but if you're not prepared for those later years, then that can become a burden on your family. Yeah. And so it's something it's not considered enough, and it's not talked about enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's
really good. As someone who works in healthcare.
Yeah. If you do live longer, you know, you're going to need more money. And when you're planning for it, you might have a lot longer than you think. You want to start now thinking about those things, because you want to have a lot more so that you can just live the rest of your life in peace.
I think a good rule is just assume you're going to live to be 100.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, if you make that a hard rule, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, you're probably going to be okay.
Now, if you live to be 110, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. You know, technology is...
Just like investing is important, remember that it's not just investing, you know, in your wealth, but it's also in your health. Yeah. So, I mean, I know that's not really what this episode is about, but I think they go hand in hand, just in my opinion.
Oh,
but
yeah, right.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Another stat that I wanted to bring up, 40% of older Americans said they're delaying retirement due to inflation. That's almost half of people. They can't think about the future because they have to consider the now. It means that a lot of them are probably not positioned, a lot of them are probably not positioned the way that they want to be. You mentioned to me recently the stat that said that more people are pulling out retirement for non-retirement related stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to misrepresent this information because this was probably about a month ago I heard this, but I think it was to an extent saying that I guess Vanguard had noticed that the percentage of people pulling out money from retirement funds had increased by like a very large percentage compared to what it normally is. So, and that makes sense to what you're saying with what's going on with inflation. You know, we talked about it in recent videos. You know, more people are paying off stuff with credit cards. I mean, even I was finishing my taxes the other day, and you know, you had an option to pay for it with a credit card. You know, I mean, it's just, I mean, if you're paying out, but yeah, so it just shows you people need money. They don't have enough. So you're right. It's a little startling.
Yeah. Well, I definitely paid my taxes with my credit card, got the points, paid it off immediately.
I did the same.
That's how you do it, man.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. A lot more people are not even thinking about it because they're so focused on the right now. The more knowledge that you have in those early years of your life, the easier this stuff is going to be.
Well, let me ask you this. What age would you say you got really obsessed with your finances?
Like 29. So 2 years ago, that was more of like investing. I would say in regards to putting myself in better positions, I would say when I was like 18.
Okay, so you've been kind of studying this for a while, but really
it was really all behavioral because when I was 18, I took a personal finance class, and it was Dave Ramsey's class on debt, the debt snowball, staying out of debt. And since then, I was like, you know, I don't want to be in debt. I just don't want to do it. And it was more behavior modification, which is good because, you know, it saved me from a lot of heartache during those early years. But I wasn't very well versed in the other half of even just like Dave Ramsey's plan, which is, you know,
so you investing. So you saw the logic in all of it, and it just made sense to you at a young age pretty quickly.
It made sense to me that I need to plan for my future right now, or I'm going to end up struggling. And, you know, I can't predict the future, but I can always plan for a chance.
Yeah.
A chance to be able to have a life where I can be able to enjoy more time. I have two stats right here that kind of work hand in hand. The first one is over 12,000 Americans will turn 65 every day in 2024.
Wow.
And then it says 22% of working Americans are likely to retire in 2024. So, you know, that's still a lot of Americans that are probably not going to be able to retire in 2024 when they hit 65. Even though this 22% seems like a lot, if 12,000 turn 65 every single day, I mean, you know, I don't know the math on that, you know, but that's still a lot of people that are not going to be able to retire.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's just kind of unfortunate. There was a survey done. It says that according to a 2023 retirement confidence survey, a breakdown of when surveyed retirees stopped working, 13% said under 55, 20% said 55 to 59, 9% said 60 to 61, 9% said 62 to 64, 13% said under 65, 13% said 66 to 69, 6% said 70 or older, or they'll never retire.
Okay, yeah, that's a good spread.
Yeah, I would say that's a good spread. It says here that, you know, most of them said 55 to 59. So I think that like a lot of people have probably planned to retire by that time. I would like to be in the first category under 55, but
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, you know, we're just gonna have to just see. The last stat that I wanted to read here is gonna be the average retirement savings by age, and this is the one that I think is gonna be the most startling.
I'm interested to hear this. Let's hear it.
According to the Western and Southern Financial Group, 25 to 35 age has $37K for retirement. 35 to 44 age people have 97,000.
Not bad.
45 to 54, 179,000. 55 to 64 have 256,000. And 65 plus have around 280,000.
Now, was this medium or mean?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It also doesn't say whether or not this is net or if it's just like how much they have in retirement. So
I bet you it's lower I bet you
it's probably lower if it's based off of like their net worth, which is, you know, you take your assets and your liabilities and you cancel them out. It's probably going to be a lot lower. If I'm 65, if I had 280,000 with no debt at all, like my house was paid off, I had no credit card debt, you know, nothing like that. You know, I'm kind of just like, I have 280,000 going forward. I probably wouldn't feel that bad. I mean, it's not well, like insane, but
you also have Social Security to consider. But
right,
are you going with the 4% rule if you only have that between 200 to 300K, or how do you do that? Because you don't want to run out.
Yeah, you don't want to run out, but you also have to pay.
You also have to pay your bills.
Right. Well, if you had Social Security plus this, then you know, you could probably live like a pretty modest living.
Let's just say it was 300K and you did 4%. Well, that's basically what, 12K you can pull out for the year.
Right, but then you have like Social Security, which, you know, might.
Is it going to be that? Is it going to be that much? It would
if you have everything paid off.
I mean, in this economy, yeah, that would be rough. I mean, I see why people feel like they have to work longer.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough.
It is tough. It's doable. It would be harder if you had debt in your house.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. Like if you had that, then yeah, this is not a lot. This is almost impossible.
In those retirement years, you want to be enjoying those years. You know, you kind of have a cap on yourself, like what all you can do. You know, you're probably not going on fancy vacations. You know, You're probably not just eating out whenever you want. You're probably still having to live a very frugal lifestyle.
Yeah, see,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I would say that that's probably what people should be thinking about, depending on like how much money that they have. Because if you don't have enough to like let you live with like your basic needs met, then you shouldn't retire.
Yeah. What I want people to do at a young age is to view their retirement accounts, or even really just all their investments and assets. You know, you're building up your own business in a sense, and it's going to pay you one day.
Yeah.
It's going to pay your bills. It's going to pay for you to do the things that you really want to do with your family. You know, those vacations, those restaurants, eventually buying a new car and not stressing about it. We talked about the health stuff, you know, getting good insurances, all those things. So that's what I want young people to understand. You are building your own business. You know, I tell my wife this when I think about managing like our budgeting and all that. You know, it's accounting one-on-one, you know, but you start doing that at a young age, you are learning some very valuable skills.
Yeah.
And you're basically building up this machine that's going to pay you one day. This is yours. And if you do it correctly, it can be passed on to the next generation. You know, that's generational wealth. And that's the way I view it now. But the thing I'm trying to do now is get more people to view it that way and to get excited about it. You know, you are building your home business in a sense. It's going to pay you. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing.
I think something that a lot of people think about with retirement is that, oh, well, I'm going to be able to live large if I have all this money one day. For me personally, I'm probably never going to stop being frugal. I mean, you know, obviously I'm going to scale up because, you know, if my assets are just making a ton, then yeah, I can be able to afford
absolutely.
Things. I want to maintain the same like guardrails because a lot of things are just not worth it. And just because you have the money, experiences, nice things or whatever, nice cars, or, you know, even like buying like a nice giant house, some things are not as grand as you think. And I think that a lot of people that go into retirement, because they don't have the, you know, the mindset that's like, oh, well, I can only take this much out, they end up squandering it all and then they're screwed. And then like, oh, well, I got to go back to work, or, you know, I had to come out of retirement. That's got to be one of the worst feelings ever. I feel bad for people that got to come out of retirement. If you don't think about it, you're going to squander it. And, you know, you spent all this time trying to get there. But, you know, it is nice to be able to have the option to do those things because of the work that you put in so early.
To add to that, I'd say, you know, when you're 25, I said this last week, but when you're 25, think of 35 version of you, think of 45 version of you, think of 55, 65. You know, you have to get into that mindset. And that's what, that's what retirement is all about. You know, everyone thinks retirement is this age, you know, I got to get to 65 or 66 or 67, but it's really just math. It's just getting your assets to a certain level.
Right.
And then you can depend on them Now managing that is a whole different thing, but that's not really what this is about. But
yeah, we had a video. It was building wealth is just a numbers game. One of our most popular videos on the channel, and that's literally what it is. I mean, you know, when you think about compound interest and you think about numbers, I mean, it is all just math, because right now, like if I made 10% on like 10,000, you know, that's $1,000. If I made 10% on like $100,000, that's 10,000. If I made 10% on $1 million, that's $100,000.
Let's go.
And that's where we want people to understand that it's about math. It's about behavior. It's about knowledge. It's all these things. And I like how you talked about, you know, considering your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s, but not keeping it to where I need to work until I hit a certain age. Because in my mind, like your 65 is my 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I'm not saying I'm going to retire at 40. I do have a number. Like, you know, what's your age?
If I had to give an age, I'd say into my early 50s, mid 50s.
Okay.
These are goals, people.
Yeah. So these are goals. Something that I wanted to talk about in like addition, before we go into a little bit more of like a detail thing.
What we've learned. Yeah.
What we've learned is I wanted to talk about the idea of retirement. We talked about the stats. We talked about how like life expectancy has been going up a lot more. I told you about Ben Shapiro before. He's a very, very popular media outlet type guy.
Yeah, I'm very aware of him.
Right. Well, he mentioned something recently where he thought that like retirement was like a stupid thing. He's like you should never retire. He said something very, very interesting that I wanted to bring up. Purpose is tied to basically your work, and if you stop, then you don't have any basically anymore. So you should just keep on working. I don't really agree with that, because I think that you can be able to put your work into something that's outside of your like traditional job. I don't think you should never stop working, but I don't think that it should be something where, oh, well, I'm never going to stop working my like 9 to 5 or something like that. I'm not going to stop working when I'm done with my traditional job.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think people should always have meaningful work that they are doing.
Right.
Stuff that they're passionate about. When I say retirement, I don't see myself just chilling on a beach, you know, having a pina colada, you know, getting tan every day. You know, I still want to do meaningful work. I still want to build great relationships. I still want to educate. I want to enjoy doing stuff like this. So to me, that's still working. It's just, it's meaningful work. And it's not like you're saying, it's just not, I don't want to sit and do a 9 to 5 the rest. I love my job, but just saying I don't want to always do a 9 to 5 and stress, because there's so many variables with a 9 to 5. You know, there's so many things you don't know. But when you build your own business, you build your own set of assets. You know, you start to get that security. You start to have way more control over those things, and then you can dive into the stuff you really love to do. So yeah, I agree with what Ben's saying. If he's saying it in a sense of meaningful work. But I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, meaningful versus like regular 9 to 5. If it was regular, like, yeah, you'll be working at whatever company until you're dead. I think that's just ridiculous. And most people don't want to do that.
No, I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to do it.
I mean, when you're working for a company, you're just building up somebody else's dreams.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that he can say that, but you know, he has his own thing.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if you're working for yourself, it takes a lot of work, but you're not just mindlessly doing something for like somebody else.
Yeah. I think while you're working though, it is important to maximize your situation, you know, your income, the way you're allocating your capital based off your checks, you know, the things we talk about in other videos, taking advantage of like matches on your 401ks, all those things. So you can definitely take advantage of those things, but it's all to lead to what's your ultimate passion that you want to do.
Right. Because you can, I mean, if I'm not saying that you should stop working. I mean, if you want to keep on working until you're gone, if that's what you want to do, then that's perfectly fine. It's just that I think that most Americans don't want to do that. I personally don't want to do that. I wanted to, distinguish between the thing where it's like, you know, working in like traditional jobs and stuff like that to make money versus putting work towards your passions. Cause like what he was saying, you know, I don't want to just be sitting around after I'm done working my traditional job. Like, you know, I want to do stuff like this, and I want to be able to, you know, to understand more how to make money with like what I have and like preserving it and continue cash flowing. Now, doing that on a beach with a freaking pina colada.
Let's go.
That's not, it'll feel less like work when I'm making stacks, chilling on the beach.
Yeah, that might be the move.
Right.
I love it.
I want to get your thoughts too on something.
Yes, sir.
There was also this one politician, I forgot who it was. They mentioned that we should raise the age of retirement.
No, I think that's silly. I think, just like we said, because retirement's not actually an age, it's a number you have to get to.
Right.
So I think that's just more American society silliness, in my opinion.
But if you think about it, if times might be getting harder, I mean, even look at like what Biden did for 2020. I believe it was for 2025. I'm not sure if it's for this year, but this law now where like companies are like required to enroll employees into like a 401k, because some stats, and I don't have the sources off the top of my head, but some stats were showing that like a lot less Americans are like opening up retirement accounts or funding them through their employer. So now it's becoming more of like you'll have to do it because they're afraid that people might not have retirement. So I think that like some other politicians are like, okay, well, we don't want people to get to a point to where they have nothing by the time they get to retirement age. So let's auto enroll them and like kind of like force them to do it, which
they do that in Singapore too. And that's a good thing. But I mean, in a sense, that's kind of communism in a way. But I think it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, that's the beauty of America, is the freedom to make your own choices in a lot of things. And with great power comes great responsibility. But that's how capitalism works. You can take advantage of this. I don't want to say it's a great market, but it's the best economy.
It's a free market.
It's a free market, and it's the best.
What people say. But
yes, and it's the best economy in the world.
Now, is it rigged? Debatable.
Well, yeah, but you can still take advantage of that with certain.
Yeah. You have the option to do it.
Yeah, you have to build on certain principles, build systems, but it's there. You have to educate yourself. And you can do the things to take advantage of capitalism. But that's the issue. Most Americans don't.
Yeah, they don't. And that's why they're probably trying to force people. Well, now they are, they're like force enrolling these people.
I mean, I think it's a good thing, but I think it should be people's choice still. I don't ever like when we take away choices, but I think ultimately that is a good thing. But no.
I mean, like I believe that it's not really that much of a thing to do, because if the stats are showing that like less and less people are retiring by the time they get to the age, and like if they have nothing, is Social Security going to be enough? And then that might cause something where like, okay, well, now we gotta create programs that benefit older people that don't have enough money, and that could restart the printing cycle and stuff like that. We might be spending a lot more. What are some lessons that you would like to just share for not only people who we think should be focused on this more, which is like the younger generation, but just like anybody in general regarding retirement?
I'd say the most important thing I've learned is that 99% of people just need to invest in like S&P 500 index funds.
Yeah.
And you have those options like in your 401ks. I'd say another big lesson is the take advantage of the Roth 401k, take advantage of the Roth IRA. And I know different tax situations for different people, it might benefit you to actually do the more traditional IRA, but that's another conversation. But going back to indexes, I was a little hybrid when I first started investing, because it was 2019, 2020, all this education's coming out, the government's pumping the economy, stocks just go up forever. And I'm sitting here thinking I'm a genius, like, oh, I can actively manage and, make this great retirement account. And I can even outperform the market. I thought I was just so smart. But it's funny. And thank goodness I didn't use a ton of money. But when I compare, my wife's account, just her 401k, just putting in index funds, just every week, taking the match, she destroyed my accounts, so keep it simple at first. If you ever want to do active investing, you can, but just start with a small amount and paper trade at first. And I would say educate yourself for at least 2 to 3 years. I mean, it takes, and this is just something I heard the other day in a podcast, but it takes 3 years just to be on the JV to be considered a decent investor. You know, don't get lost in TikTok and YouTube when you see all these people making globs of money. It's not like that for the majority, you know. So when you begin, keep it simple. If you want to be an active investor one day and you want to manage it more, educate yourself like great. There is so much to learn. I mean, I feel like I've been doing nothing but learning the last 3 years, and I still have way more to learn. And that's why I enjoy it so much, because it keeps me sharp, and I love it. It's just something I'm passionate about. So yeah, that'd be the big thing, you know, index funds, Roth, and then obviously taking that match from your company, because I mean that's free money. Yeah. You know, if they offer 6%, take that 6%. You know, take the free money. And then the biggest thing, lastly, which happened to us recently, was just budgeting better. You know, you can definitely increase what you're investing by increasing your frugality, you know, and you don't have to live this miserable chained up life. You can still do a lot of fun things. You can still enjoy life to the maximum, you know? So yeah, I'd say those are the 4 big things. And as far as like percentage wise investing, I at least want to try to be at 25% of my gross income. That's my main goal going forward.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
What about you, man?
So I wanted to touch on just kind of like the mindset. I mean, we kind of went over it a little bit throughout this this podcast, but retirement is a good idea regardless of how you view what's going on or you know what's going on in your life or your situation. Retirement is so important. You only have one life.
Yes, sir.
You only have one life, and if you are stuck in like a soulless job, or if you're stuck if you know in like a lot of like life stuff and you feel like that you can't get out, the longer you push thinking about your future and retirement farther, I would argue the harder it is for you to be able to enjoy the rest of the life that you have. I mean, I've seen people who, you know, they feel hopeless in their 50s and in their 60s. They can't retire. They want to, they wish they could, but they just can't. And, you know, if you think about this as kind of like, as like a cautionary tale, if you're in your teens, your 20s, I mean, you know, look at me. Like I didn't start actively trying to learn about this stuff until I was 29 years old. And I feel like that I've lost a lot of time, and I'm only 31. I'm confident that I can be able to get to where I can be able to have a pretty decent amount of like assets to like build cash flow and stuff like that and like have good growth, but I'm working harder than where I could have been when I was like 18, early 20s. Always be considering your future. Consider that there could be a time where you don't have to wait until you're 65, 70 to you know, to pull away from traditional work and actually have more time for the more important things like your family, your friends, your hobbies, the things that you enjoy, even work, your passion work, serving others, volunteering. Like, you can have those things if you prepare as early as you can. And, you know, the culture right now will tell you, oh, well, you know, you're young, you're in your 20s, you know, this is the time to take risks. I agree with that. But it doesn't mean that you should squander everything. I think a pretty common thing that I hear is your 20s are the time to live it up. Focus on these things when you get into your 30s and your 40s. Like, do you realize that when you're 40, you could have potentially, I'm not saying that this is a for sure thing, but you could have had 20 years from when you got out of high school to 40 to potentially build this large amount of like capital and assets, staying out of debt. And you could be a lot closer to retirement than you thought. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, well, you know, you're older and you can't really experience. I'm not saying, like what he's saying, you don't need to be living under a rock and just putting all your money away. But I would argue that the person that doesn't have anything when they're 40, that had all those great experiences, versus the person that still had great experiences, but they prepared from 20 to 40,
that's good.
I guarantee you that they wish that they had that person's positioning.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it. I'm not saying that those things are like a lie, but you need to really change how you view and value things for you to truly succeed.
Yeah, your brain will really talk you into things that you don't need.
Right. I
mean, that's happened for all of time.
Value the future by valuing the now.
Yes.
And you're going to be just fine.
Yes, sir. And it's never too late. Ryan talks about how he missed out on time, but listen, I've seen people who didn't start investing until they were 50, even 60, and they still had good retirement. So it is never too late, but you have to get on board, get the system going, and you got to go. Right.
Yeah. I guess I do want to clarify that. I'm not saying that like older people have wasted their time, because you can still do what you got to do. I'm just saying it's like infinitely harder the older you get and you haven't thought about it. One of the things that the money guys have is that I'm not sure what the number was, but when you turn 18, they have this little like beer coaster sleeve thing. And it says like, this beer cost me like $82. I'm not sure what the number is, but basically what it's saying is that the amount of dollars by retirement that your dollars have at the age of like 18, I believe it's like $1 equals like 80 something dollars.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen that.
And then as you move along in your life, that number starts to decrease. So the more money you have investing in the early stages of your life, it's going to be a lot more because of compound interest down the line.
Oof, and let it grow. Let it grow.
Yeah. Let it grow. And by the time I'm like 60, I don't want to be worrying about waking up and going to work and doing that kind of stuff. Like, I want to comfortably be able to let my assets live, do the work that I want to do, and be with the people that I love, enjoy the rest of my time. Because, even though that life expectancy, if you really think about it, if the life expectancy is set to go higher, you'll have more time to actually enjoy more of your life. I mean, if you think about it like this, like if I live to be, let's say I live to be 90, and let's say like theoretically, I can be able to retire by the time I'm like 45, 50. That's 45 to that's 40 to like 45 years of like potentially a really, really decent life. And if I can make that number shorter, that's more time. But if you don't worry about these things at all, then the amount of time that you'll have in retirement becomes less and less. Like let's say it turns from 40 to like 30 to 20. Some people even can, might only have like 15, and some people, which, based off the stats, a lot of people can't retire. They're not going to be able to enjoy those last years of their life because they got to keep on working, because they probably never took time to consider these things. And it is due to education, which is why, we want to be able to come on here and let everybody know, like what he was saying, that it's never too late. It's more optimal if you do it a lot earlier, but it's just never too late. You can make your life you can work towards getting the life that you want and having more peace by thinking about these things and going for it.
Well, that was great.
Yeah.
Well, brother, do you have anything else you want to talk about today?
I just want to say, if you like this video, like it, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten on our Grow Show.
Yeah.
Since we started it back up, thank you for all of the support that y'all have given us so far. If you have any questions about this, about like retirement strategies, anything that we've talked about today, please leave it in the comments. We would love to get back to you. But that's it.
Yes, sir. Well, until next time, we love y'all. Let's continue to give and grow.